Good evening. Welcome to Off the Set. I'm Steve Dunlop. We have a mystery guest in the studio tonight. His name is Tom Kean. You know him as the governor of New Jersey. The mystery isn't who he is or what he does or even what he wants to do. The mystery is, will he keep doing it? Governor, you've kept us on tetherhooks now for weeks, refusing to say whether you'd be a candidate for re-election. First you promised us an answer after the holidays. Here it is, January 20th. About time for an answer.
Well, what I said, I know that, and one of the things I said, Steve, is that I wanted to talk at some length with my family about it. I've been doing that. I love the job, no question about it. I don't think I'll ever have a job in my life that I like as much as being governor of New Jersey. But it's a job that places obligations not only on you, but on other people. Your family becomes part of the job. And they don't see very much of me. They don't see very much of me on weekends. They don't see very much of me at night. And I've got young children, and there'll be some of them will have left home by the time I would have served another 4 years. So that's all got to be taken into consideration. And we're having ongoing discussions, and I will have a decision. I'm not going to hold it unnecessarily long time. Part of it is that, very honestly, I've been working on a budget and the state of the state and all of that, and have not. Even on this, I haven't had the time to spend with my family yet that I would like.
This seems to be, if not a new thing, at least an increasingly common thing among politicians. President Reagan, everybody knew he was going to run. He put off the formal announcement for weeks and months, and then finally made it, what, July, August, right before the end of the summer for maximum impact. And I would imagine you could be accused of doing the same thing.
Well, of course, but you also have a number of people in public life, I think increasingly so. You can see it in the members of Congress. People who recognize that there is a dual obligation, that you have an obligation to do a job if you love the job, and public service is a job that I love. But on the other hand, you have another life. You have a responsibility to your children, you have a responsibility to your family, you have some responsibility even to yourself to pursue hobbies, to do the kind of things that this kind of a job doesn't give you time to do. And unless you take all those things into consideration, and truly take them into consideration so that you and your family are in on a decision together, and then it doesn't make any sense. You've got to have everything together to do the job properly. Everybody in the family has got to be behind you. And I think it's more and more you're going to see public officials who, when you've seen a lot of them already, who come down on the other side of that decision after a lot of thought.
You mentioned before the State of the State address, Governor. Your State of the State address, I would imagine you would consider upbeat. The state of the economy in New Jersey is very good. Unemployment is down. Capital investment is up. There are more jobs entering the state. But you yourself said that the environment is the #1 priority in your new administration in this coming year. You proposed a $450 million environmental trust fund. A lot of people out there wonder, what is the difference between this trust fund that you've proposed and the federal Superfund? And why should New Jersey perhaps be paying or propose to pay out of its own money for what should be construed as a federal problem?
Well, a federal problem is part of it, and we are still going to try to get every federal dollar available out there to clean up toxic waste. I hope the Superfund is going to be reauthorized. If it isn't reauthorized at higher level, then Congress has been very irresponsible. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they are going to reauthorize it. But even with that reauthorization, we have a number of sources. We had a bond issue, which we will be using to clean up toxic waste. We have our own fund, where we take monies from chemical companies and drug companies, people who created some of this, and use that for our own fund. But even beyond that, and beyond the federal monies, we still need additional monies if we're going to clean up these areas as fast as I think I would like to, and I think the people of the state would like to have them cleaned up. Federal dollars only apply to certain sites. And they only apply to part of certain sites. We are already in New Jersey leading the nation in the cleanup. Bill Ruckelshaus said we were light years ahead of any other state in our attempts to clean up toxic waste. I don't think we can stop now. I think we have to keep on going. I want to keep in the 4-year schedule that I set up. I want every toxic waste site on a 4-year cleanup schedule. I think it's important to jobs. I think it's important to the state's future, and it's going to take this kind of a state commitment combined with the federal commitment, combined with the tax on the polluters, combined with going into court and pursuing, as we do this too, pursuing anybody who we can say is responsible for a Pacific site. All those have been plugged in, and it's going to take that effort together if we're going to stay on course for this 4-year cleanup and really lead the nation in cleaning up toxic waste, which is something I'd like New Jersey to do.
There are landfills in New Jersey which are on the Superfund list, and this all ties in, I would imagine, with the problem of solid waste disposal. Where do we put New Jersey's garbage? There was recently a dispute in Morris County following the shutdown of Ham's landfill. Where's Morris County's garbage going to go? I believe for the time being it's wound up in Middlesex County. But still, the long-range problem remains. And one of the things that you talked about in your State of the State address was possibly exploring a recycling program. What do you envision for recycling in New Jersey beyond what is already being done? With plastic bottles?
Well, we've got recycling's part of it, and what I propose in that area is mandatory recycling. Another part of it is resource recovery. A third part of it is citing temporary landfills until the recycling and the resource recovery can be brought in line. But as far as recycling goes, we now have a voluntary recycling program, and we have about 10% of the state's waste that's now recycled on a voluntary basis in a number of municipalities. To really get at this garbage problem properly, we should have mandatory recycling.
Of what?
Where you separate your bottles and your papers before they go out, and those then are recycled. In other words, used again, converted to energy, used again, what have you. It can be a profitable program. We're now trying to work out ways in which those materials, once they're separated, can be sold to various people who will use them again. That, in a sense, is recycling. Requiring that separation is going to be mandatory recycling. It's not difficult. Our family does it. Most families, a lot of families in New Jersey do it now. And it's going to make it a lot easier to handle the garbage problem. So mandatory recycling is the direction we're moving in, and I hope to have a bill before and through the legislature before the end of next year.
Since you touched on resource recovery, let me ask you a question about that. The resource recovery plants which you propose would turn garbage into usable energy. There was a resource recovery plant in the town of Hempstead on Long Island which was closed down because of dioxin emissions. Are you confident that the technology has improved now to the point where dioxin will no longer be a serious problem with those plants?
Yeah, I am. From everything I've been told by the scientists and everything that I've seen myself. Municipal officials have been able to visit a number of these resource recovery plants that have been sited in various areas around the country. The closest one, I think, to our area being Peekskill. Plants that are operating very well. Plants that are operating with more emissions than we would allow in the state of New Jersey under our proposed regulations, but which are still safe. And so we will be that much safer because our laws are going to be that much tougher as far as emissions go. And obviously, if anything has emissions that don't meet our standards, we shut it down. We do that now. I mean, nothing is allowed, whereas a factory or whatever, to exceed our emission standards without mandatory shutdown sooner or later by the Department of Environmental Protection. So our laws are very tough, and yet the people who manufacture these resource recovery plants tell us that the technology is there now so they can meet New Jersey's standards for emissions, and New Jersey's standards are the toughest in the nation.
Governor, the subject of education is very dear to your heart. As a former teacher, I know. We'll discuss that, the state budget surplus, and some other things when we come back.
I'm Phil Rizzuto, announcing new convertible option mortgage plans from the Money Store. These plans offer first and second mortgages and are in addition to our long-term fixed-rate loans. You get the advantage of a lower interest adjustable rate plus the option to convert to a fixed-rate plan. Don't forget, qualified borrowers get instant approval and fast service. Rates as low as 12.5%. Call toll-free 1-800-221-9000.
Every day, Eastern Airlines launches space flights to Florida. You see, only Eastern flies big, roomy, comfortable wide bodies, and only wide bodies, non-stop 30 times a day to Florida. So fly Eastern to Florida. For $99, see what space is like.
If you're like me, you probably overate during the holidays and gained a few pounds. Well, this is a reminder to make your New Year's resolution to work it off.
At Jack LaLanne, you can work every muscle with Nautilus. Shape up with aerobics, take a lap in the pool, or on the track. The hardest part is just getting started. Join now while you can still get 1984 rates.
Make getting in shape your New Year's resolution. Call today.
Join Jack LaLanne now and avoid a price increase.
Governor Kean, you're a former teacher. As part of your State of the State address, you proposed what some people are saying is a rather unusual and unorthodox measure to bring more quality to New Jersey schools. You suggested that New Jersey actively recruit, as I understand it, the top 100 college graduates in the state to teach in New Jersey's state college institutions. What's going to make them want to come? I mean, if they're that smart.
Well, that's part of a larger program. We hope to have a very large program, of which that's one small part, to attract the best and the brightest back into our schools. And that part would simply take the top 100 graduates or 100 people who are around the top of their class, forgive them whatever loans that the state has given them in order to complete their undergraduate training and their graduate training if they need that also. And if they would give a certain amount of time in New Jersey schools as teachers,
how much time?
They would not. We're talking in terms of 4 or 5 years. My feeling is that somebody who spends 4 or 5 years in the schools, a good percentage of those people are going to want to continue in the classroom, because teaching is a good profession. Teaching is fun. Teaching is creative. And I think a lot of those bright people, once they get the excitement of the classroom and the excitement of dealing with kids, are going to stay there. But we're doing a number of other things. We're suggesting we increase the minimum salary to $18,500, and that's designed also to add an extra incentive to get some of the brighter people who are going to get good job offers all over the place, to have some of them to come into the classroom. We've got a master teacher program. You know, I think you remember in school, as I remember in school, that there are certain teachers that made a real difference to us. I can name 2 or 3 great people who made a very great difference to me in my life, and almost everybody can say that. I want to recognize these great teachers. I want to title them. I want to call them master teachers. And I want them to get paid for their excellence. I want them to get $5,000 more than other people would, because they are that we want to keep them in the schools. We want to recognize the excellence. You see, teaching's the only profession I know where you don't get 1 cent extra in pay for being excellent. And that's wrong, and I want to change that. So we want to do all these things. Raise the minimum, have the master teachers on top, offer these scholarships to get some of the brightest people into our schools, and these things combined with a number of other things have also proposed. We hope to make New Jersey schools the best in the country.
With regard to the master teachers proposal, Governor, I kind of remember that you and I were here a year ago talking about that.
That's
what
right.
happened?
Well, it was scheduled to go in this year with the 18,500. So it's on target. We've selected, we've collected the experimental school districts. The school districts have accepted the program, and one of the problems that some of the teachers' unions had with it was, I said, you know, what happens if it's used for favoritism? What happens if it's a principal's favorite people who get picked instead of really your excellent teachers that you're talking about? So we said, fine, let the teachers pick them. Teachers know who other good teachers are. They're experts in their profession. So the majority of every committee to pick these master teachers is going to be formed by teachers. And in these schools, we're starting it off as an experimental program. It'll go into effect this coming year. In these schools, we'll see if it doesn't work. If it does work, and I think it will, we're going to spread it throughout all the schools in the state of New Jersey. And in combination with the other things we're doing, and with a new certification procedure which will let some of the very brightest people who have been in other professions come into the teaching profession later in life if they want to and bring their skills. Combined with all these things, I think we can really bring excellent people, excellent new people into the classroom, into the teaching profession. And to me, that's what it's all about. You know, you can talk about schools all you want, but the really important thing is the relationship between the teacher and the student. And if you can bring those really great teachers into the schools and keep them in the schools, then you've done I think you've done the job.
Governor, as governor, the state's chief executive, you not only have to be a teacher of sorts, you have to be an economist. Right now, New Jersey is facing a record budget surplus, $800 million, I believe, at last estimate. Oh. Governor Cuomo is facing a, if not as large, a similar surplus here in New York, and he's talking about cutting taxes. Why not you?
Well, we are. We are talking about cutting taxes, and in fact, we've
You've
already
got other
cut some of
priorities
them.
first, though.
No, in combination. All the priorities are together. What I've suggested is, yes, we've got those environmental programs we have to do, because I think they're important in creating future jobs. If we don't have clean water and clean air and clean soil, then you know, we're not going to be able to continue the kind of economic boom that we're having. We need a clean environment. But in connection with that clean environmental program, in connection with education, I've suggested we take part of that surplus and give it back to the people who gave it to us. I mean, that seems to me fair. And I've proposed we do it with homestead rebates, simply because the checks go out anyway. They go out to property taxpayers, which is who I want to get the relief to. So why not send them a little bit extra? Why not take part of this one-time surplus and give the taxpayers a break? I mean, that's what I'm for. But in connection and in conjunction with that, we're also lowering a tax and eventually abolishing it. That's been much too high for much too long, and that's New Jersey's inheritance tax. We've had a number of people who have actually moved out of New Jersey because they were concerned about the high inheritance tax. Well, we're phasing that down. We're almost phasing it out. That's tax reduction this year. We've abolished one of the business taxes completely, which is going to help to bring in jobs, and we're getting rid of a $100 million surcharge on business from an unemployment compensation fund. So we've had a couple of taxes on people I've suggested lowering, a couple of taxes on business, and also our program for the schools, our programs for the cities, our programs for the Municipal Assistance Fund, and a number of others, are programs that go directly back to local government. And what does that mean? It means those programs do not then have to be funded by the local property tax. So you will see a stabilizing of the local property tax due for the kind of assistance that I'm recommending we give from Trenton. All that is in the form of tax reduction of one kind or another. And if you add them all up, I think they'll exceed the program you find in almost any other state.
Governor, there are a few other things we'd like to bring up, including transportation, the problem of crossing between New York and New Jersey for a lot of motorists. We'll get to that and more after this.
Are you bored with your home? Then redecorate with Gimbel's custom slipcovers, draperies, and vertical blinds. When you call Gimbel's, a decorating specialist will help you select fabrics in your own home. Then an expert will cut and pin fit the covers on your furniture. Gimbel's even installs them. All this for a low, low price. A new look. It's only a phone call away.
Right now, save 40% on Gimbel's custom slipcovers, draperies, and vertical blinds. Call 760-9600, 760-9600.
I'm Bob Stafford, a Mako Auto Painting Center owner. Today, with new cars costing $10,000, smart money people are keeping their present cars and restoring them for only a few $100s. Now, during Mako's chain-wide winter sale, we'll change your car from this drab, dull look to this great new look with our Supreme Paint Job. One of the best Mako offers, and at half its regular price. That's right, half price if you act now.
The Mako Supreme Paint Job, regularly $349.95, now only $175. Act Now offer expires February 16th.
Governor, living in the greater New York, New Jersey area, as you do, as I do, as everyone does who's watching, you're aware of the problems that there are sometimes crossing the Hudson. There are only three major crossings, the George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel. At both rush hours, they're jammed, and sometimes in the non-rush hours. The Port Authority is studying ways to correct this problem. I got a press release in the mail the other day from a developer by the name of Harry Grant, who is advertising a proposed fourth tunnel crossing, which he would like to build. He says he's asked the Port Authority to say yes, but if not, he would like the federal government to change the law to allow him to do it. He says he has the backing to build 6 tunnels from a point just north of the George Washington Bridge. 2 of the tunnels would go to the east side of Manhattan, 2 to the west side, and 2 to the Bronx. He says it would cost $5 to $6 billion and take 10 years. Why not?
He's given me that proposal. I've heard from Mr. Grant, and what I did is, of course, turn it over to the Port Authority, because they're the experts on tunnel crossings, to really see if whether or not his proposal was feasible and whether or not they'd be involved with it or whether or not it could be done with or without them. I haven't heard from them yet on that, but in the meantime, what I've suggested to them that whatever you do with a tunnel or bridge is going to take a long, long time. And we're approaching, maybe not gridlock, but some nights close to it, getting back and forth across that river. And what I've suggested immediately is one thing you can do is put ferries on. And I suggested it last year, and the Port Authority said they want to study it. Well, I think they've been studying it for a while, and it's about time they told us. Yeah, it's about time they told us the answer. And I know what the answer is, because I know what the answer was when I asked them to look at it. And that is that ferries are feasible. That ferries would be a proper way on the short term, and then continuing to, and I'm talking about ferries in all areas. I'm talking about ferries that would go downtown to the Wall Street district. I'm talking about ferries that would go across to Midtown, both of them. Because I think that would ease the congestion, and I think it's a very, very pleasant way to get back and forth to work.
There is other tension between New York and New Jersey besides that which is on the roadways. Some of it right now is over the so-called UDAG grants, the Urban Development Action Grants. The federal government recently changed the rules to apply for those grants in such a way, as you claim, puts New Jersey to disadvantage.
Oh, yeah, they did a terrible thing, and I don't know. I suppose they knew what they were doing. They didn't really change the rules. They changed the procedures. It's not even a rule that you can challenge under law. What the Secretary said was, from now on, if there's any kind of job flow in a direction, that within 50 miles of the city where that job flow is coming from, any UDAG can be brought into question. Well, if you take New York and Philadelphia, there isn't a city in New Jersey that's not within 50 miles. And there's always going to be a job flow. You know, in New Jersey we have lower taxes. In New Jersey we have lower utility rates. In New Jersey there's more space. Of course there's going to be a job flow. You know, people are going to continue to come to New Jersey because they can do better there. So that job flow is going to happen.
Was this law singled out?
Yeah, the idea of the UDAG grant is so we, in combination with our state policies, can steer some of that developments into our cities. So you can steer it into a Jersey City, so you can steer it into a Hoboken, so you can steer it into a Patterson. If without the UDAG, that becomes much more difficult. And the flow doesn't stop. I mean, obviously, you get lower taxes and all these benefits, people are going to continue to come, but they're all going to come to the suburbs of the country. We don't want that. We want as many as we can coming into the cities. And for the federal government to try and inhibit that and take jobs out of New Jersey cities with a rule or regulation or opinion or whatever it is that singles out New Jersey with this law is totally wrong. And I've asked the Attorney General to go into court. I've asked the congressional delegation to give us their full support on this, and I've asked the White House to intervene. And whatever, hopefully all three will be helpful, and one way or another we'll get this restriction resolved. Because if not, the UDAG program becomes pretty meaningless to the state of New Jersey, and it'll be very hard for our congressional delegation to join in any kind of a campaign to preserve it in this year of budget cuts.
The Statue of Liberty stands shrouded by a scaffold right now, but it too has become a symbol of contention, if you will, between New York and New Jersey, with Congressman Frank Guarini filing a lawsuit asking the federal government to declare that, yes, the Statue of Liberty is on New Jersey property. And I believe Governor Cuomo's reaction when he heard this was, we're very close to settling this. Governor Kean and I are going to get together. Did you? And have you settled it?
He's right. We started talking about it, and I'm convinced Governor Cuomo and I can settle it. We have a very close and a very good relationship, and we don't want to settle our differences in court. I think we can settle our differences over breakfast or over lunch or over dinner, and I think we will. The Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island belong to everybody. I mean, we can make whatever discussions with who gets what tax revenue, but, you know, these are American national symbols, and the two states really shouldn't be in court over them. Mario Cuomo and I can come to an agreement that I think will be fair to the people of both states, and I think we will.
Finally, Governor, this again is another bone of contention, if you will, between New York and New Jersey, the baseball teams. New Jersey recently passed, and you signed a bill allowing the Sports and Exposition Authority to, in effect, go after an existing Major League Baseball franchise and to build a stadium for it. You've refused, as in the past, to talk about which teams you're talking to or about. But are any New York teams involved?
Oh my goodness! Don't suggest that. My good friend Ed Koch would be very, very unhappy. No, we're certainly not. We're not going after any New York teams. What we really want to do is bring a third team into the metropolitan
You got the Giants,
area.
You got the Jets.
No, I know. I think some days I think the mayor's going to have me followed when I come into town to make sure I don't go out with the Knicks. But I'm not. I'm not interested in that. I really don't. We're a metropolitan region. I think. We'd be very proud if we could bring another baseball team into the region so that we'd have, we used to have a subway series, maybe we can have a ferry series. I mean, I think that kind of, that kind of rivalry.
Or a fourth tunnel crossing series.
You know, and any of these little bones of contention, you know, the thing we got to remember with all of this is we're a region, we're the Northeast region. we really should be working together, and I think in most of these things we can, but don't suggest I'm going to go after another New York team, or I'm going to lose some of my friends over on this side of the river.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Governor Kean, for being with us this evening, and we'd like to have you back.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Please
you
stop
very
in.
much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
For Off the Set, I'm Steve Dunlop. Thank you and good night.